In this series, I'm going to take a concept from Runescape and apply it to Neopets. Runescape has a game mode called Hardcore Ironman where you play the game without being able to trade with other players or pick up items that they've dropped. The hardcore part refers to only having a single life. If you die, then your score on the highest score table is locked and you continue playing as a regular Ironman. Translating this over to Neopets means no shop wizard, no trading post, no auction house, no money tree, and no gifts from other users. I also decided to add a few extra rules just for my own experiment. Gameplay will be limited to 1 hour a day. My account age will start over at 0, so I'll have to deal with restrictions on what I can restock and how much I can bet at Food Club. I've disabled Trudy's Surprise for now, but I might re-enable it later on if progression is too slow. I'm also banning the Turn Tooth. Aside from my personal views on Jumpstart's weapon releases, the Turn Tooth icon count is completely out of line with the rest of the weapons that come from NPC shops. Prior to the Turn Tooth, the strongest restockable weapons dealt 11 constant icons, and a more recent release deals 13 constant icons. The Turn Tooth deals 13 to 22 icons with an average of 15, making it comparable to a hidden tower weapon, but with a rarity that's even lower than any of those other restockable weapons. After depositing all my Neopoints and transferring my pet to a side account, I was ready to begin my new life as a hardcore Iron Neopetter, only to find out that if you transfer away your last pet, then the entire site becomes unusable. So I cancelled the transfer, created my new pet, transferred my main pet away, and then began my journey. I chose a Pateri as my new pet because they have a unique interaction with food items that contain the word worm. Feeding a worm item to a Pateri will heal them to full hit points and set their hunger level to bloated, which means you can always feed them one more worm food. I was hoping this would help me save on healing potions, but I underestimated how difficult it would be to stock up on worm foods without using the shop wizard. My first goal was to get some weapons so I could start farming items from the Chia Clown. Not only is the Chia Clown the weakest opponent, but the Neopian Central Arena prize pool includes some useful weapons, as well as the chocolate ice cream which is used in the creation of stat increasers. I don't like flash games, so I played NeoQuest to begin earning Neopoints. You earn an increasing amount of Neopoints every time you level up, so I figured I would grind out a few levels to earn some starting capital, but I ended up getting a nice random event instead. I bought a shield, a single-use healer, and some fragile weapons, and got my first win against the Chia Clown. Unfortunately, I didn't get any item drops, and I had to wait on the healing springs before I could try another battle, so I went back to the Neopoint grind. I switched over to pyramids because it was more fun and more profitable than NeoQuest. My healing springs timer ran out with a few minutes left in day 1, and this time I decided to try a different strategy. Instead of using my healing springs purchase on an elixir, I bought a single-use snowball that would let me one-shot the Chia Clown, except it didn't because of the Chia Clown's full blocker, and without a healer I had no chance of winning after that, so I ended day 1 by losing my hardcore status. I started day 2 well enough by upgrading my set with a hand-painted scarab, but the healing springs only healed me for 3 HP, so I couldn't try another battle and was stuck playing pyramids for the next half hour. After a second visit to the healing springs, I faced the Chia Clown for the 3rd time, and promptly lost. At this point I was wondering if the whole experiment was destined to be a failure. It was clear I couldn't consistently beat the Chia Clown without training, but I couldn't train until I had a supply of code stones. Colton had given me 1 level and 1 point of defense so far, but I didn't want my first few weeks to just be me playing pyramids while I wait for Colton to train my pet. I spent the final 20 minutes of day 2 playing more pyramids and trying to figure out a new plan. I did clear the pyramids once, so that was neat. Despite its dauntingly high difficulty, the Jelly Chia has a 10 HP moveset, which means it will use the exact same weapons whenever your pet has less than 10 HP remaining. Since my pet only has 5 HP, I only had to worry about 1 move, and because that move uses a single-use weapon, all I had to do was survive the first round of the battle, and then the rest would just be a shorter version of a punchbag bob fight. The hand-painted scarab had the right defensive icons, but still too few to keep the Jelly Chia below 5 damage. I didn't quite have enough NP for a second scarab, but I did find a cheap, fragile shield that could fill in the missing defense. Although I had to heal after each battle, my setup worked and I finally had an opponent I could farm code stones from. My shield eventually broke, but I immediately upgraded to a basic wooden shield, which blocks the same icons, never breaks, and costs less. The rest of the day was spent getting bored of pyramids, trying some other games, and then going back to pyramids. I also decided to change the rules a bit at this point and allow a final visit to the healing springs at the end of each day, even if it happens after the 1 hour of game time. This was just to speed up the early progression slightly and so I could start each day with a fully healed pet. By day 4, I finally remembered that Colton's Shrine wasn't the only daily, and that a lot of them could give out doubloons, code stones, weapons, or other useful items. So I put together a list of all the dailies I should be doing. None of them gave me doubloons, code stones, weapons, or useful items today, but at least I have my list now. My goal for the day was to get it downsized so I could cut the Jelly Chia's damage by another point and do 2 battles before needing to heal. By the time I finally earned enough Neopoints for a downsize, the shops had cleared and there were no more restocks before my hour was up. I moved away from pyramids and onto the card game Cheat. complete. You get some prize money every time you win a round, but the real profit comes from catching cheaters. The trick is to get all the way to the final round, then keep the round going for as long as possible, catching cheaters when you can, until one of the NPCs win. Then you just keep replaying the final round over and over. I ended the day with an Earthberry quest that I was able to complete thanks to the Healing Springs shop, and the defense points I gained bumped my pet up to the next defense boost. That meant my weapons would block slightly more damage from the Jelly Chia, and I wouldn't need the downsize after all. Still no doubloons from dailies, and I refuse to enroll in a Mystery Island course without a full set of code stones because those courses cannot be cancelled, and I don't want to get stuck waiting for a specific code stone. I also can't get any doubloons from the Battle Dome right now because they're dropped by opponents in the Moroccan arena, and I'm far from having the stats or weapons to beat even the weakest one, so I'm still training by a Colton Shrine for now. I got bored of playing cheat, so I decided to try Scorchy slots for a while. I think the profit was better, but I didn't like the streakiness, so I'll be sticking with cheat as my money making method for a while. I've started buying Lost Desert scratch cards whenever I have an extra 500 NP to spend because those are the only way for me to get Scarab rings. I think they're supposed to be a fairly common prize, but no luck yet. In real life, roughly a week had passed between day 5 and day 6, so I forgot that I didn't need to downsize anymore and got all excited to see one right at the beginning of the day. With my new defense boost, the downsize turned out to be a downgrade, but it's still a really good general weapon, so I would have bought one eventually anyway. I just should have spent the money on a better constant first. So I beat the Jelly Chia, got some code stones, but still not enough to risk a course at the Mystery Island school, advanced around and cheat, and that was it for the day. Still determined to beat the Chia Clown, I did some more weapon research and landed on the Altadorian Practice Helm, which stocks for just a few hundred NP, and combined with the hand-painted Scarab, blocks the majority of the Chia Clown's damage. It was enough to get a few wins, but still not consistent enough to move away from the Jelly Chia. My problem now is that I don't have any good healer options. It's important to understand that there are two types of healing weapons, pre-damage healers and post-damage healers, also referred to as under-healers and over-healers. With pre-damage healers, the Battle Dome will apply the heal up to your maximum hit points, and then subtract whatever damage your opponent deals. This guarantees that you will never end a round at full hit points when you use a pre-healer. Post-damage healers, on the other hand, will apply their heal after your opponent's damage. This means that you can still end the round with full hit points if your opponent's damage is lower than the amount healed. Because my pet has such low HP, the only healers worth using for me are the post-damage kind. That rules out all the elixirs and the magical healing potion. I don't know what kind of healer the green potion is, but it's a single-use item that's outclassed by the Nova in terms of both damage and healing, and I know that Novas are post-damage healers. But Novas cost 500 Neo points each and are single use, so I would run out of Neo points pretty fast using those. With this in mind, and another day of nothing good from dailies, I decided it was worth the risk of starting a course at the Mystery Island Training School, and lucky for me I had the right code stone.